4,000 years ago, a small cluster of mud brick huts sat quietly beside a river, utterly unaware it would one day rule the known world. This was Babylon, long before its towering walls rose, long before its kings dreamed of empire, long before its very name came to mean power. Stand here and you would smell wet river mud, hear reed boats scraping against the banks, and watch farmers arguing loudly over sacks of grain. Nothing here suggested future greatness, yet within a few centuries, this humble village would become the beating heart of all Mesopotamia. Babylon began as a minor settlement on the Euphrates River, overshadowed for generations by older, grander cities like Ur and ancient Uruk. Its earliest people were quiet farmers and river traders, drawn by fertile black soil and a river that could one day feed an entire empire. Mud brick homes lined narrow winding lanes, while irrigation canals carried water to barley fields, stretching endlessly toward the horizon. For centuries, Babylon remained a mere footnote, a modest little town paying tribute to whichever empire happened to rule Mesopotamia that year. But beneath its quiet, dusty streets, ambition was already stirring among priests, merchants, scribes, and hungry local chieftains alike, waiting. The river that fed its fields would soon carry something else quietly downstream into history, the very seeds of an unstoppable, sudden rise. Everything changed around 1792 BCE, when a young king named Hammurabi took the throne and began looking far beyond his small kingdom's borders. Hammurabi was patient, waiting through long decades while rival kingdoms wore themselves down through endless petty wars and shifting alliances. Then he finally struck, uniting all of Mesopotamia under Babylonian rule through relentless conquest, careful alliance, and calculated betrayal. He carved his laws into black stone, 282 of them, promising fierce justice for the weak against the cruelty of the powerful. The Code of Hammurabi still echoes loudly today across history, an eye for an eye, a debt that civilization has never quite managed to forget. Babylon was no longer a sleepy village of farmers. It was now the proud capital of the single mightiest kingdom on the entire face of the earth. Centuries passed, empires rose and violently fell all around it, until Babylon finally found its true golden age under a brand new line of kings. Nebuchadnezzar the Second inherited a city determined once again to prove itself the grandest, most powerful capital in the whole ancient world. He rebuilt Babylon, with towering walls so impossibly wide that chariots could reportedly race along their crest, side by side for many miles. Brilliant blue-glazed bricks lined the famous Ishtar Gate, dragons and bulls marching in tile toward temples gleaming brightly with hammered gold. Legend says he built lush, terraced gardens for a homesick queen, green cascading dramatically above the parched, desert dust far below the city. The hanging gardens, whether or not they ever truly existed, became a wonder whispered about eagerly across the entire known ancient world. Great ziggurats rose steadily toward the heavens, their step towers later inspiring old tales of a tower that once tried to touch the sky. Inside those mighty walls, Babylon pulsed with restless life, merchants haggling loudly in a dozen tongues beneath the burning desert sun. Priests studied the stars from temple rooftops every night, charting distant planets and quietly inventing the entire mathematics of astrology. Scribes pressed wedge-shaped symbols into wet clay tablets, recording debts, dreams, prophecies, and royal decrees for all future generations. The marketplace smelled of spice, roasted grain, and river fish, while long camel caravans arrived weekly from distant, unfamiliar foreign lands. Babylon became a true melting pot, where Akkadians, Amorites, and travelers from distant Egypt mingled freely within its crowded, noisy streets. For one glittering moment in history, this was the true center of civilization itself, the one city every empire desperately wished to control. But no empire lasts forever, And in 539 BCE, Persian armies under Cyrus the Great stood silently before Babylon's legendary defensive walls. According to ancient accounts, the great city fell almost without a fight.
Treason!
Its heavy
Close
gates
the gates!
opened from confusion and quiet betrayal deep within. Cyrus entered not as a destroyer, but as a calculated liberator, promising to respect Babylon's gods, temples, and its ancient sacred customs. Yet something fundamental had shifted. Babylon was no longer the capital of an empire. It was now merely a jewel in someone else's royal crown. Persian kings continued ruling from Babylon for many generations, but the city's true political power quietly began slipping away for good. Rebellions flared repeatedly and were crushed each time in turn, every uprising stripping away a little more of Babylon's once legendary glory. When Alexander the Great finally arrived in 331 BCE, he dreamed openly of making Babylon the glittering capital of his own vast new empire. He walked its ancient streets in quiet wonder, admired its towering temples, and reportedly planned to rebuild the city grander than ever before. But Alexander died suddenly within those very walls, and his grand dream of a restored Babylonian capital quietly died there, right beside him. His generals violently tore the empire apart, and Babylon, caught helplessly between rival warlords, slowly began losing its ancient purpose. A new city, Seleucia, rose nearby along the river, steadily drawing away the merchants, scholars, and people Babylon had once proudly held. Brick by brick, street by street, the great city that once ruled the known world began quietly, gradually returning back into the desert dust. By the 1st century, wandering travelers found Babylon largely abandoned, its ancient temples crumbling silently beneath harsh desert winds. Sand crept slowly across the streets where kings once paraded triumphantly, and its famous walls dissolved gradually back into the ancient earth. Yet Babylon never truly vanished from memory. Its name lived on forever in scripture, legend, and solemn warnings about human pride and folly. Its ancient laws shaped legal codes for centuries afterward, and its careful astronomy laid the very foundations for all science yet to come. The tower, the gardens, the gate, all became myths powerful enough to outlast even the great empire that had originally built them long ago. And so Babylon's remarkable story became a mirror, ambition and grandeur rising ever higher, only to be humbled slowly and surely by time itself. From mud-brick huts to golden gates, from world empire to forgotten ruins, its entire arc feels almost strangely human in its rise and fall. Every civilization believes its own walls will stand forever, and yet every single civilization eventually, quietly learns otherwise in the end. Still, in museums and memory, Babylon somehow still speaks, through broken clay tablets and glazed bricks carefully pulled from desert sand. If this journey through ancient history captivated you, consider subscribing for many more cinematic tours through the depths of human time. And tell us down in the comments, which lost city or forgotten empire should we bring vividly back to life together in our very next video?